Om. 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 Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Rutavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amba Tvam Anusandhadhami Bhagavad-gīte Bhavadveshini Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Gnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुये नमः यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः. Hari Om to everyone. So I see so many people today. Very nice, very nice. Okay. So what we are doing here, after we finish the Bhagavad Gita, the 18 chapters, now we are looking at some of the well-known teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, which is very necessary in our life if we want to realize also. That is what we are seeing. So we finished, talked about the Karma Yoga, and then we talked about the meditation, the Dhyana Yoga. And in the last class, we started about the Lakshanas of the Stithaprajna. So when Arjuna listens from Lord Krishna about this Stithaprajna, a realized soul, he gets interested. He says, how does this learned person, a realized soul, move around in this world? How can I recognize him? So he asked the question to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan starts answering, and this portion is known as Stithaprajna Lakshanas portion. Okay, so we started in the last class, and we saw the verses. What are those? Okay, so the 55th verse, the Lord Krishna's answer started. There in the 55th verse, Lord Krishna said, this Stithaprajna, from him, all the desires have gone. Why? Because we have desires and we want to fulfill it because we want happiness. From what these small desires that we keep on fulfilling one after another, the happiness that we get is so little. But when you realize, you don't get the happiness, but you realize the bliss that you yourself are. So there is no need to have this little happiness in our life, because you have that bliss. So that's why there is no more desires in that Stithaprajna, the realized person. And during the dvandvas, pairs of opposites that we face in our life, this person is very stable. He does not go after the pleasures, or he doesn't get very disenchanted in a negative situation and all that. So that we saw in the verses number 56 and 57. So the last verse that we saw in the last class was the 58th verse, where Lord Krishna gave the example of a tortoise. The tortoise, withdraws its limbs into the shell, and whenever it faces a little, what you call, the problem, okay? And so, same way, Lord Krishna is telling, we should withdraw our senses when we move around in the outer world of the temptation. World is full of temptation. So when we come across, we should have that alertness, where we can retract our limbs in. That means we don't want to keep seeing it, just walk away from the things that, if it is an attractive thing that we see, like I said, I don't need it. Remember, 3 questions that we need to ask ourselves, and we need to be very alert. Do I need it? That question has to be in our mind all the time. So now, in the next 3 verses, 59, 60, and 61, Lord Krishna gives the importance, why it is so important to control our sense organs. And Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, there is no other choice. You want to become a Stithaprajna, you want your wisdom to be stabilized in your intellect, then you have to control your mind and senses. So in this verse number 59, a very useful tip is given here. So let us see the verse number 59. Okay. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drushtva nivartate. So the verse says, see, the sense objects fall away from the one who is controlling the senses, but the taste for them remains in the subconscious mind. But even the taste that is in the subconscious mind goes away ultimately when that person realizes who he is. That means when he becomes the Stithaprajna, or when you call, he becomes a Jivan Mukta. Param Drushtva Nivartate. So now let us see a little bit more on these things. First line, Vishaya Vinivartate Niraharasya Dehinaha. Vishaya Vinivartate. So the sense objects that comes towards this person, the wise person, they turn away. And so this, from whom, as I said, it's the wise person. Here it says, Niraharasya Dehina. So from that individual who wants to give up the sense objects. So if we decide we don't need them, okay, they will turn away from us. They don't come and sit in our lap and say, please, please take me. Okay, we have the choice there. But at the same time, when we have the demand for them, they will reach us. Sometimes even crossing the continents. We want something from India, you can still get that. So if those desires can be fulfilled also at that time. So what we see here is the sense objects by itself, they lose their attraction the moment we say no. But that no that we say should be very strong also. Sometimes we say, no, 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 but it is not convincing. That no is very, very weak. For example, see, when the food is served, like in India, the weddings and all that, food is served, a person brings, one time the laddu was served, and the second time the laddu is coming, and we say, oh, no, 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 no. But the way we say the no, that person will take it as yes, because our no is very, very weak, and he understand that. So rasa, and then in the second line it says, rasavarjam rasopyasa param dushtva nivartate. So our no may be strong sometimes, and there is the control of the senses also. But Lord Krishna says, rasavarjam rasopyasya. So you might say no now and you did not eat it, but still that taste for that laddu is still lingering in your mind. That past experience of that still lingers in our mind. Then when will it leave? Lord Krishna says, param drishtva nivartate. On glimpse of that higher. When you realize that Brahman, then that even that lingering taste that leaves away. So actually what we can say is, objects really don't have any attraction of their own, they don't come and say, take. How do you say that? An alcoholic says, the bottle keeps calling him, please take me home, I'll give you pleasure, please take me home. But how about a teetotaler? He's not at all attracted to that bottle. So the object is the same, but there is likes and dislikes, that's all there is. Okay. So certain, you can take the example of when you walk in the mall. Certain stores, when we pass by, we are Stithaprajnas. We don't even want to go inside. But there are some stores, they are so attractive that we become slaves there. Gurudev would tell a story about, for this one, he would say, a family, a mother, father, and a child, they go to a fair, and the child sees a toy store, not like the mall, in the toy stores in the mall, but we are talking about a small fair. So there he sees a small place where all the balloons, the stuffed toys, wooden cars, and everything is there. And the child gets so attracted to that. He drags the mom and dad. Come on, mom, I want some. Daddy, I need this. I want this one. There, okay, mother and father are Stithaprajnas. They are not at all interested in it. But they will get something for the child, and they are walking from the store. Then the mother sees a saree store. Now she drags the father and the child into the store, and the father and the child is Stithaprajnas, but she is attracted. And once the saree is, once she buys that saree, they come out, and as they are walking, there is that store of the boots and the knives and things like that. So the man gets attracted. So then the mother and the child is the Stithaprajnas. So sense objects by themselves, they don't have any attraction. But we, see something in them, thinking that they give the joy for us. And here it says, niraharasya dehinaha. Ahara. Okay. What is ahara? Normally we say the food that we put in our mouth and eat, right? But here in Sanskritam, ahara means arhyante. Okay. That means whatever is pulled in. So it is not just the food that is pulled into the mouth, but also the forums to the eyes, the sound to the ears, smell to the nose. All these are ahara to those sense organs. So all the five sense objects, the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, are like the food for the five sense organs: ears, the skin, eyes, tongue, and nose. So each and every sense organ, it demands its food also. But a serious, spiritual seeker, he's very, very careful about how he feeds his senses and how much he feeds also. So remember the example of tortoise. Okay. And he does not pollute his mind through his senses. So that is why he's called Nirahara. Nirahara. Okay, is without the food. He is very careful about um, what he is exposing his senses to, because he has a lot of control over his senses. In Kathopanishad, there is the example of the chariot that is given. So there, the chariot has the horses and the charioteer. So there, the charioteer is the intellect, horses are the senses, and they are held in control through the reins. The reins are the mind. So then one might ask, okay, what will happen when I control my senses? So here it says, Vishaya vinivartate. The objects turn away from that sadhaka, from that seeker automatically, because he is not showing any interest towards them. But again, remember, Bhagavan said, he might be protected by the external things, but still that rasa is still there. Rasavarjam, rasopyasa. Still the longing is there. Outside, you might be able to control that one. So it is like when we eat the food with our hands, we wash our hands, but still the smell of the food is still on our hands. Swami Sarvapriyanandaji gives a personal experience how this longing stays in the subconscious mind. It does not go away, and we are also not aware of that. Once he was very sick, and he was in the hospital, and he could not eat anything. Even looking at the food, he would throw up. He was on the IV fluids. And he says, he would dream of different kinds of food that he used to like so much as a child. So he says, he was not even aware those impressions were there in his subconscious mind. He had not even thought about that kind of those dishes for a very, very long time. So on the top, you might think, oh, I have control. No, I have left this. There is no more desire in me. But that taste, that lingering taste is still there in our subconscious mind. So actually, what it shows is the place for enjoyment is not really the body, it is the mind which wants those things. It is the mind that has been conditioned to enjoy. See, we eat, the tongue tastes, but which is the one that is enjoying, which is the one who is saying, oh, this is so tasty, I liked it. It is the mind. Okay. So taste is basically for the mind only. It's not for the body. The body will derive, the nutrition from the food, but the mind derives enjoyment from the sensory input. As Swami Aparajitanandaji says, the rasa, which is already there in the mind, and says, what are those rasas that are there, that comes up? He says those are the negative vasanas that we have in our mind, like kama, krodha, and matsarya, and all that. They gurgle up now and then. But Bhagavan says, Arjuna, don't worry. Okay? Because param društva nivartate. Even this taste for those, even this taste will go away for those who see that param, who see that Lord. That means who realizes that Bhagavan, param društva. So that having seen that highest, param is the highest. Nivartate means, that it just leaves. That even the rasam, it leaves. So even sometimes, even though we have these negative thoughts, negative things that in us, which we are not aware of, that might come up once in a while, even those will go away when we realize. So when we start doing our sadhanas, slowly, the mind starts experiencing those joys and the peace, and slowly, the mind starts tasting the higher, then it starts leaving the lower also. Swami Mitranandaji tells a story from the Buddha's life. Once Gautam Buddha was giving a sermon in a village, and there were many people who had come to listen to it. And then one poor man was also walking very fast to join the satsang there. And as he was walking, there was a rich man who was giving out shawls to all the poor people. So this poor man also got one shawl. He was happy because it was cold, and so he opened it up and he covered himself and he sat to listen to Buddha. And when the sermon was over, everybody, they started giving Guru Dakshina. This poor man realized he doesn't have anything to give. Then he said, well, I have this shawl. So the mind was telling, oh, come on, this is the only shawl you have. Why don't you just, keep it for yourself? But he said, then the other mind said, no, you should give something when everybody is giving. So you got the knowledge, so you have to give Guru Dakshina. So he folded that shawl very nicely and he kept it at the feet of Buddha and he walked away. And as he was walking, he was so happy, so proud of himself. He said, I have conquered it. I have conquered it. And as he was saying loudly, there was a king who was passing by in his chariot. He heard him, this poor man, saying, I have conquered it. So he stopped at the chariot and he asked the poor man, what have you conquered? So the poor man narrated the whole thing and he said, I have conquered the desire. But the king was not sure that if this poor man has really conquered the desire. So he had 2 shawls in his chariot. He had a few shawls, not 2, few shawls. So he gave 2 of them to the poor man and he said, okay, now you take these 2 shawls then. The poor man took those 2 shawls, walked straight to Gautama Buddha, and he said, here, I am able to give you 2 more today. So he gave that and he walked away. The king would not leave it there. So he said, let me give him 2 more. And he gave him 2 more and he said, this you don't have to give it to Buddha. You take it home. You will be able to use it. But that poor man did the same thing. Again, he went to Buddha and he gave. King was very much surprised to see this one, but he was not ready to accept this poor man, doesn't have any desires at all. So he took out the gold chain that he was wearing and he gave it to the poor man and he said, look, you sell this one and you will have enough money to take care of your family. The poor man walked again to Buddha and he said, I think this should be with you, not with me. And he walked. I said, okay, this is the last one. I don't know, if he really is a person without any desire, let me test him for the last time. So the king said, I don't have anything more to give you, but I have this chariot. You take this chariot. It will come handy for you to move the goods and all that. So that poor man took the chariot and he walked to Buddha and he said that, Lord, now you don't have to walk anymore. Here is the chariot for you. And he left the chariot and walked away. So, someday we should be able to say, and we should have this ability to say very loudly, I have conquered desire. So we should realize the more you enjoy the sense output, the more thirst it increases. The thirst increases. It doesn't get quenched, but the thirst increases only, and the more desperation also increases. Swamiji says, this is why we are reborn again and again, because this tremendous obsession that we have, when the body falls, we still have that longing for the desire to enjoy them. So because we want it so bad, Bhagavan says, okay, have another body and enjoy. But is the desire so important that we go through the journey of birth and death again and again? That we should think about. After many, many janmas, aneka janma samprapta, we have this human body. We have gone through so many yonis, the insects, the animal, the plant, everything. And now we have this human body where we can get the knowledge through which all our karmas of not only this birth, but the karmas of many, many births can be burnt away. But we are so much attached to our desires. So we should decide before we make an exit in this body, okay? Can we be like that poor man, and can we say, I have conquered the desires? That is very important. One sadhu says this entire world actually does not exist. It only looks like there is the world. Of course, there is this taste, the sight, everything in the world, but there is nothing here that will satisfy us. There's nothing here that will give us lasting peace also. So it is like that the 3D movies. So Swami Sarvapriyanandaji gives that example. When he was young, there was this 3D movies that came long time ago, for which you had to wear these glasses and all. So he also went with other children. He was also very young at that time. He was not a Swami at that time. He sat with the children, and there was this plate of laddus that floated in front of the eyes of him and the children and all that. And children were so excited, they started trying to grab them and to hold and all that. But nothing was they could hold. But they knew it. But they were having fun. So they did not feel, oh, I did not get the laddu or anything like that. But because they knew it was not there at all. When the sense objects are not in front of us, okay, it is very easy to give up. But when the sense objects are there in front of us, it takes the control. We have to control. The control of the mind is very, very important. And that is what Bhagavan says. When you see that Bhagavan Param Društva, okay, then even the desire and the trace of longing or everything will be gone. So you become from Jiva to Paramatma. Okay. Unless we experience this blissful self, the sense control is not going to be 100%. There will be some control we can do, but only at realization that control becomes perfect. So all the transient happiness that we have, it is in the outside world, but the bliss is inside. So it's a beautiful shloka. We need to keep on doing mananam on this shloka. Then we realize how we have become slaves to these sense objects. Now, continuing the same thought, Lord Krishna says in the verse number 60, Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. So he says, O Arjuna, these powerful sense organs are so strong and turbulent, they forcibly carry away the mind of even the vipaschitaha, the wise person, who is endowed with discrimination and who practices self-control. So here Lord Krishna is giving us caution that, controlling the senses is not an easy job. You have to put effort for that. See, who knows better than the doctors the effect of alcohol? Like the addiction, the liver problem, liver damage, and all those things. But how many doctors can say no to alcohol when offered? Knowledge is there, but unable to resist that desire. So we have heard the story of Vishwamitra, right? So Vishwamitra, he was doing the tapas. Of course, Indra got scared. So he sent Menaka. And his tapas was distracted. So one student, when he heard this story, he asked his guru, if I do the tapas, will Menaka or Urvashi come too? Guru said, of course, definitely. An Apsara will come. So the student went and he sat in tapas. And after some time, he heard the sound of this jingling, the jingling bell. And that sound was coming closer and closer and closer. Then he opened his eyes to see who has come. Either it is Urvashi or Menaka or somebody else. But it was a cow with a bell tied around his neck. So he got very, very angry. So he went to the Guru and he complained, see, Apsara did not come, a cow came. So the Guru laughed and he said, cow is sufficient to disturb you. You don't need bigger temptation. So this is sufficient. So one may ask, even if the wise person, he is swept away, then what is the point in trying to control the mind? For this one, Sridhar Swamiji, he writes in his commentary, as an introduction to this verse, he says, without controlling the senses, without stabilizing the senses, wisdom is not possible. Therefore, when you are a seeker, a spiritual seeker, at that stage, you have to put an extra effort to control the senses. So here, Lord Krishna is not saying in a negative way that it is hard to control the senses, but he is not being pessimistic, but he is giving a caution that the senses are very, very powerful. So one must be very careful, and we should also be ready for failure also. But we should not give up. We should get up and try again and again to control the mind and the senses. So keep trying is the solution for this one. Just like, when a young tree is planted, I'm talking about in India. So on the roads, on the each side, you see the trees, they grow beautiful trees. But when they plant that, you see there is a fence around that one. That is to protect that tree from the cows and the goats that walk around, from them. So same way, we also have to protect our mind when we walk in this world of objects, because our sense organs, they want to see, they want something, and we should make sure whatever we see and whatever we send the information to our mind, it is filtered, and then we are taking that one. That's why even one of the Shanti mantra that we chant, it says, Om Bhadram Karnebi Shruniyama Devaha. Bhadram Pashye Maksha Birya Jatraha. O Lord, may we hear only the auspicious things. May we see only auspicious things. So here, Lord Krishna is warning us, Yatato api konteya. Even though that person is trying to meditate, studying Vedanta, trying to control his senses, and he is a wise person, he is a vipaschitaha, still, these senses, they will take you away from here. So, mana indriyani pramathini. These senses, both mind, mana, and indriya, the senses, they are swept away of this person also. They don't leave that person also. There is a statement in Sanskritam, it says, Kinkarasya kinkaraha aha kinkari krito. Alas, I have become the servant of my servant's servant. What does it mean? My servant is the mind. And the mind servants are the senses. And who am I? I am that Atma, the self. But what I have become? I have become the servant of my senses. So, I have become the servant of my servant's servant. Because whenever my eyes want to see, I run to get that one. Whenever I want to taste something, I go to the restaurant to eat, and so on. So for the sake of the sight, the taste, the touch and sound and smell, I run around in this world to procure them for my sense organs. So one may think, okay, it is my senses, right, that goes out. But I'll control my mind. So then there won't be any problem. But we think like that, but it is not easy at all. So at the beginning, the trick is always to start from the gross, the physical. So first you control the sense objects, in the sense, don't allow your sense organs to be exposed to all these sense objects that we really don't need. So start with sense control, and then comes with that comes the mind control also. For this, we need very strong determination. The dhrudatva should be there. What is the determination? I want to reach my goal. And anything comes in between, I'm not going to allow it. Otherwise, we may have the intention to strive, but there is no determination. And then that intention is of no use at all. Harati prasabam manaha. Forcefully the mind is taken away. So we have to make the biggest effort, what you call mahayatna. Serious dedication should be there. And we should have this dedication. It doesn't matter how long it takes for me. And I'm not going to take a step back. I will always push myself to control the sense organs. So even while doing the meditation, the thoughts do come. But if we are still, if we are very alert about at that time, we let the thoughts pass by. But if we are not alert, and when we get into the theme of the thought, then we are lost. We start thinking, we start like a Krishna, 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 doing the japa. And then all of a sudden, we remember this Krishna mart in India that sells so much sweets. And now you have got into the theme of that. And now you start thinking what is good in that Krishna, what happened to you, what is your experience, and the meditation is gone. So alertness is very, very important. So now in the next verse, 61st verse, Lord Krishna gives a practical advice here. So let's see the 61st verse. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. So Bhagavan is telling, may that seeker, okay, having controlled all the senses. Here it uses the word sarvani. So it's not just one or two, but all of them. And that person, after disciplining these senses, what he is supposed to do, then because now that the mind is no longer indulging in the world and the mind is free, so don't keep that mind empty. So let that mind contemplate on me, says Bhagavan. Yukta asita matparaha. So he should sit steadfast and he should mat, me as the paraha, as the Lord. He should meditate on me. So, so when such a person is called tasya prajna pratishtita, at that time that wisdom will become established. And he is called as Stithaprajna at that time. A little more about this verse. Tani sarvani samyamya. All the sense organs. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives a very beautiful example. You all might have seen in India, when they, in the rice, where they grow the rice, in the rice paddy fields, when they put those saplings, the small plants, they cover that with the water. It's about 2 to 3 inches water will be staying there. So this farmer, okay, he worked very, very hard making the channels so that he can bring the water to his field. And he did it. He did it. He was very happy. But as he was walking out of that, he saw the water was draining. It was not staying. Then he saw there was one hole in a corner and that was draining the whole thing. So just because of one hole in that corner, the whole field got drained. So same way, with our sense organs, one obsession is enough to make all our efforts to go to waste. So here, that's why Bhagavan says, Tani sarvani samyamya. You should have that control over all the senses, not just one here. And then mat paraha, intent on me. Keep me as on the top. Keep me as the priority, top priority. See, if we make the Lord the priority, if we make Bhagavan as our goal, then only we are known as spiritual seekers. Okay. See, the moment we make the Lord as our goal, then Bhagavan also helps us. As he says in the 9th chapter, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. He will take care of us. What we need, he gives us. What we have, if it has to be kept, safely, he will take care of the Kshema. See, we all know about Tapon Maharaj, so, who was the Shiksha Guru of our Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji. And Tapon Maharaj, he would travel in Himalayas all the time. He loved nature. Once when he was traveling, it got dark and he could not reach the village. You know, to go for bhiksha, have some food, rest, and then leave the next morning. But now he saw a small dilapidated temple and he said, well, let me spend the night here. So he entered there. And he sat in a corner and went into meditation. There, three thieves, what are the dacoits, what you want to call, they also came to that same place and they also took a corner. See, when you stay in a dark place, as the eyes get used to the darkness, you are able to see the things around a little bit. So these dacoits saw Tapon Maharaj sitting in a corner. So they said, good, we don't have to go anywhere to loot. Here is a person, we can go and loot him. So they went close and he said, give whatever you have. If not, we'll kill you. Tapon Maharaj had a small bag where he had one set of ochre clothes and one Bhagavad Gita. When they saw that one, they just left him there and they went back to their corner. After some time, they came back to Tapon Maharaj and said, have you eaten? He said, no. So the dacoits shared whatever they had brought with them to eat. At that time, what was Swamiji's response? He says, oh Lord, do you have to take this form of a dacoit to feed me? See, a person who has kept Bhagavan as his goal will have that kind of a vision. What will be our vision? If we see the dacoits, we keep thinking, how can we run away from this place? How fast we can go away from this place? But when you keep Bhagavan as your goal, he'll take care of you. So here, the knowledge will get settled in a person who has controlled the senses. That's what Bhagavan is telling here. To settle the knowledge, two things are needed. One is sense control, and the second is God should become our priority, our goal. If Lord is not the goal, then we will have a very uphill struggle to control our senses. Suppose one does not have the control over the senses, then what happens? That is given in the verses 62 and 63. So we'll just see that one. Very nice verses. These verses are very, very dear to me. Why? Because when my son Gopal, now he's 47 years old. When he was in high school, when he was the, he was not the valedictorian, but the next one. I don't know what I don't forget those terms that they use now, and he had to give a talk in a church. He went to a church school, so he needed to give a talk. So I used to teach him a little bit of this Bhagavad Gita and all here and there, not in a proper order, but just to teach something, I used to do. And these two shlokas, I had made him memorize these two shlokas, because this is the one that we really, really need to keep in our mind, how we can control our senses. And he talked about these two verses in the church. So that's why, every time I think of these two verses, I think of my Gopal also. So let us chant these two verses together. Dhyayate vishayan pumsaha Sangasteshupajayate, Sangat sanjayate kamaha, Kamat krodho bhijayate, Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, Sammoha smriti vibhramaha, Smritir bhamsha buddhinashaha, Buddhinashat pranashyati. So these two verses are known as the ladder of fall. So if you see these two verses, there are 8 links. First one, thinking about the sense objects. Second, attachment. By that, attachment comes. Third, from attachment, the desire comes that I must have this one. And from that, the fourth one, when the desire is obstructed, anger comes forth. Fifth, anger leads to delusion, moha, sammoha, confusion comes at that time. And sixth, from delusion comes the loss of memory. And memory in spiritual learning, all the thing that we have learned in the classes, in studying the books and everything, all that is lost. And the seventh is, then the intellect, the decision-making intellect, it loses its capacity. And it makes the wrong decisions. What you should do, you don't do. What you should say, you don't say it. But what you should not say, you will say. And then the last one is, that leads to pranashyati. You fall away, you slip away from your spiritual life. See, in Ashtanga Yoga, Ashta Yoga, Anga, 7 limbs of yoga, that is the way to nirvana. That is the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. But this one is 8-fold way to destruction. 8-fold or 8 steps to spiritual fall. So these are not to be practiced, but Ashtanga Yoga should be practiced. But these are all just the warnings. Okay. So let us see if we can finish this one. I'm sure we can finish it. Let us see each one of them very fast. First one is Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsa. So everything starts with the mind that dwells upon these sense objects. So what is in this mind? What is it that I'm thinking about all the time? Okay. So whatever is my habit, that habit stays in our mind there. And when you are hanging on to God, these habits don't have any power. But if you let go of God, then the mind automatically goes to this samsara. It doesn't have any other alternative. Okay. So what happens at enlightenment is, you realize there is only one reality. Whatever you think about, it is about that reality. Until that point, there are 2 things for us. If the mind slips away from God, that is, if it is away from Ishvara Chintana, then it goes to Samsara Chintana. It thinks about the world. Okay. So sometimes we say practice makes perfect, right? But we also have to be very careful about what we practice also. We should know what is worth practicing and what is not worth practicing. So dhyayato vishyan pumsa. So when you keep thinking about an object, it becomes an habit, and that habit stays with us unless our minds thinks of Bhagavan there. And what happens from that one? When you keep thinking about the object, sangasteshu pajayate. So when we dwell upon these sense objects for long period of time, then we develop this sangha. Sangha means attachment. It's the raga. So we feel, oh, it is nice to have. It's worth having. So at that stage, we might think, well, I'm thinking about it, but it is possible for me not to think also about it. But actually, once you have developed the attachment, you are not able to get away from that thinking. And from that desire, now that you want to own, comes the, from that sangha, from the attachment comes the desire. Sangha shupa jayate. So from that, it becomes the desire. The desire becomes so powerful that I want, that keeps on saying in our mind. In the Prashna, in the Mahabharata, the Yaksha asks the question, I'm sorry, the WhatsApp message just came in. Excuse me, okay? Please excuse me. Sorry about that. All the calls about summer camps comes to me. So I try to ignore it, but it is I couldn't. Okay, where are we? So yeah, in the Yaksha Prashna, how the Yaksha asks the Dharmaraya, how can one be the richest person? So the Dharmaraja says, by giving up desire, then you become rich. Okay. Then from this kamat krodho bijayate, from the desire, abhijayate is baran, krodha, anger. When somebody comes between your desire and fulfilling that, then you get angry with that person. Just a simple example, take a parking space. You are going to the Kroger and you see a parking space close to the Kroger and you want to park and you're waiting, okay, but at the same time, okay, another car comes and parks. So your desire is thwarted, and that is leads to anger. So karma leads to two things actually. One is greediness, lobha. Oh, I got it and I want more and more of it. I want to experience it, that joy again and again. And if the desire is not fulfilled, there is the anger. So it has two things, lobha and krodha, both will come to you. Again in the Yaksha Prashna, and the question asked is, what gives happiness to a man? And the answer is to give up anger. Okay. And then krodha bhavati sammoha. So with the krodha comes the sammoha. It is not just moha, it is sammoha, delusion. What is the delusion? Atasmin tad buddhi. Seeing something as what it is not. Means is what is there you don't see, but what is not there, that is what you are going to see. That is the moha, delusion, or the confusion. And from that moha, sammoha, smriti vibhramaha. So there is the loss of memory. All the things we have studied and we want to use, we talk about compassion and ahimsa, everything, all that we have studied in the books or listened everything, but when the situation comes, everything goes away. We cannot, that knowledge doesn't come into our memory at all. And so we react whatever comes to our mind at that time. And that reaction is not from the wisdom, but it is an instinctive reaction at that time. So when we say lack of memory, Smriti Vibhrama, it's not amnesia, okay? So, but we are not able to recover our knowledge. It is like computer virus. Everything is stored in the computer, but we are not able to get it at that time. What is this virus acronym? If you do that one, it says vital information resources under siege. Same way, all our knowledge is under siege only. Then Smriti Vibhrama Buddhi Nasha. So with that one, the intellect that can determine what is right and wrong, that is gone, Nasha. And Buddhi Nasha Pranashyati. So when the Buddhi is gone, everything is gone. So a person who was walking in the spiritual path, he falls completely down. So this is known as the ladder of fall. We'll see a few more points in our next class about this ladder of fall. And I hopefully try to finish all the verses of Stithaprajna in the next class, but we will see whatever is Bhagwan's Icha. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll continue next Tuesday with the Stithaprajna Lakshanas. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om everyone. Hari Om Nisha. Hari Om Muralidhar, Kamala, Neetu, Ammaji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Amma. Hari Om Rohini and Sita, and I see Chandrika, Giri, Sridevi, Makaya and Veena.
Hari Om.
Hari Om everyone. Hari Om. We will see you all next Tuesday. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Hari Om, Auntie.
Hari Om, Sridevi.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. I need to close this.
Hari Om, Geeta ji.